Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Tyler Clemmons, your host of the Clemmontime Podcast. Wow, what a week 8 for the NFL games, and of course, this week I didn't do so swell. Last week I went 8-7. This week I ended up going 6-7, and once again, the Sunday slate seems to be the proven thing in all NFL games. It's any given Sunday. Any team's bound to win. Every person is in the league for a reason because they have some type of potential or ability to play at a high level. And with that being said, start with this week 8, game 1, Thursday night game. You had the Minnesota Vikings traveling over to Los Angeles Chargers. So, very, very weird how the Vikings have handled this entire quarterback situation. And why I say that's weird is because J.J. McCarthy started the season. He got an ankle sprain, which I think if anyone else was to get an ankle sprain, they would probably play through it and not be sat down for as long as he's been sat down. Well, not only with that, it started becoming to when, J.J. McCarthy is actually healthy, and yet you're still playing Carson Wentz, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to why you're still playing him if you think J.J. McCarthy is your guy. Well, I think what they saw in film was not as pleasing as they were expecting. I believe they saw not so good tape, and they thought the best thing for J.J. McCarthy to do is to sit behind Carson Wentz, learn from a veteran. Now, he's a pretty wild veteran to be learning from, but he's played at a very high level, and he's led his team to playoff games and playoff wins. I'm not exactly sure how J.J. McCarthy is going to play now because Carson Wentz gets hurt. He's out for the rest of the season. Now, he played in that game. That shoulder was probably already done anyways, and I believe just on a short week, they were just going to play Carson Wentz, and hey, it's a short week. We'll have 10 days off. J.J. McCarthy is essentially going to have an entire week extra to prepare for this next game and to be healthy. Well, that's exactly what you got. You're going to get a healthy J.J. McCarthy now, because I think if Wentz was playing poorly enough, you would have saw J.J. McCarthy a lot sooner than Carson Wentz having a season-ending injury. Vikings, they're weird. They're very weird, especially with the quarterback situation. The offense works at times, and then it doesn't. It's so inconsistent. I think the running game's probably the biggest part is that they aren't consistent with the run. They get down in games, which that's happened quite a bit. Their defense is good, but once again, like Brian Flores' defense this year has just been gashed in certain games that you just would not expect that to happen. And that is not something that Brian Flores is known for. He is a defensive guy. He is known for being very, very, how you want to say this, unpredictable in defense, where you got guys standing around that you don't know whether or not they're coming. You don't know who's going to block who's going to mess up the linemen in their protection scheme. Well, Brian Flores has been gashed in the passing game, and the passing game's good. Passing defensive game is good. And then you just get gashed for big, big running games. And that is not a healthy way to win games. You're just constantly back and forth. Bad pass defense, bad rush defense. You can't do that. You've got to find, if you average out, that's good. You're going to be better. Now we have no idea what to expect from the quarterbacks. And, I took some notes this one for each game. Very short, just straight to the point. And that was the biggest thing for me is that now Carson Wentz is out. But Chargers completely handled the Vikings. It wasn't a game at halftime. It wasn't a game in the second half. Just complete dominance. And Oronde Gadsden is going to be a top 5 tight end in this league in no time. He's now proven it in 3 consecutive weeks. and they kind of let off a little bit in the second half. So his stats don't look as appetizing as you would think. Oh, Tyler, you're saying he's a top 5 tight end. Just keep watching, guys. Keep watching. He's good. His dad was good, not great, but he's definitely already better than his dad ever was. And speaking from a Dolphin fan, so I did pick the -2.5 Chargers. They go ahead and take that one, 37-10. We're going to move on to the first game of the 1 o'clock slate. And would you look at that? Me just being a homer, I picked the Dolphins. I thought Brian Robinson was just going to have a field day against the Dolphins, and the Dolphins set out to stop the Falcons' run game, and Kirk Cousins played in this. And wow, since the Achilles injury, he just doesn't have anything. There's nothing about him when he's on the field makes you think, but man, this is Kirk Cousins at all. And I think that's a problem. I think the Falcons have identified that, and that's why they are wanting to go with Michael Penix. I think that's the absolute reason why Michael Penix is playing, and Michael Penix probably would have played in that game if the Falcons expected the Dolphins to be as good as they were on Sunday. Ultimately, think they thought Cousins was going to play, and the Dolphins were just going to be a poor run defending team, and Bijan was just going to go off, and you wouldn't even have to put the ball in Kirk Cousins' hands. Well, that was not the case. Kirk Cousins needed to be better than what he was, and he was not. Unfortunately, he was well below that. He was very poor, and I think they're just going to be stuck with him on this guaranteed contract. I don't think I could be wrong. Somebody's going to trade for him possibly, but with that performance, I would have just said, sorry, I'll pass on this. And that's what I think I would like to expect from the Falcons, but holy shit. The Dolphins' run defense was the biggest part of this game. They stopped the run, and Falcons had no pass game at all. Drake London was out. They had no receivers. Darnell Mooney was open a few times, just could not connect. No timing for Kirk Cousins and his receivers, unfortunately. Kyle Pitts was the only guy. I think he had 9 catches for about 59 yards. We're going to go ahead and move on because, that was it. Dolphins did everything that they wanted. I won't move on. I'll stay right here. I'll just bask in this W that the Dolphins provided. The fact that Mike McDaniel finally decided to bring an extra lineman in. There was multiple times where if you're watching the game, you heard the official come on to the loudspeaker and say, number 64 is reporting eligible. Well, that's an extra blocker on the field. That is a whole nother body that is going to possibly allow you to break a run and to get the advantage up front. Now, you do limit yourself in the pass game, but hey, now you get an extra blocker for the pass protection. Only have a Jalen Waddle. I think the Falcons did not anticipate the Dolphins being able to execute the plays that they did. I think they drew up some really good plays that they have not saw on film. A lot of two-back set, a lot of screens too. Well, I wouldn't say a lot of screens, but the screens they called were very effective. Ollie Gordon caught one pass for 20 yards, and there was no one over there. And there was one person, I do believe that if he broke the tackle from the block from the lineman and was able to just destroy the receiver, that ultimately was going to be the only way that was not going to be a touchdown. And this is what McDaniel's known for. And I preached this so much for multiple weeks early in the season. The play clock. If you can break the huddle and get to the line with plenty of time to see what the defense is doing, that makes such a big difference. It was proven in this game. Tua actually looked at the defense, had time to see what was going on, not just get out there, look up, send him in motion, and run a play. No, he got to see what was happening before he sent the man in motion. And he was able to anticipate, this guy moved from here to here. I thought it was this. This is the only place he could move to maybe for this coverage now. because disguising is super risky. You get guys out of position that have to try to fly back, and it's just trying to fool the quarterback's eyes. The Falcons did not do that at all. They were just a bad team. And the Falcons this year play a good game, play a bad game, play a good game, play a bad game. So I expect the following week, the next episode you see, I'll be picking probably the Falcons, no matter who they play. Just because that's been their tendency. Bounce back, bounce back, bounce back. Dolphins win 34-10. I went plus 7.5. They covered. All right. Holy shit. What happened here? What in the world happened to the Bengals? The Bengals had this game so far in the bag, it's not even funny. I can't even begin to describe what that would feel like for the Bengals to just completely lose this game. Jamar Chase had 12 catches. The man's got 30 catches in 3 games. It is insane. He has 70 catches, I believe, right now in the season. 70 catches, and we're 8 games deep. Sorry, 8 weeks deep. You know, not all teams played 8 games. They've already had buys. But we're at week 8, and Jamar Chase is being absolutely ridiculous. And you would have not expected Jamar Chase to even be on this pace right now. Well, guess what? He is. But the Bengals just shit the bed. The super lackadaisical. You get a big like that, you become super conservative, and the Jets have not all year. Every game they've lost, they've had a chance to win at the end, or they've come all the way back, where now you're like, oh boy, this is not supposed to be this close. And it happened again, but this time they stopped the other team. They stopped the Bengals. They absolutely started playing lockdown defense on that last drive. And hey, I feel super bad for Jake Browning. Jake Browning is just having the most unfortunate series of events kind of year. So he has a really good QB2 season a few years ago when Joe Burrow gets hurt with the whole wrist elbow injury. And you think, man, this guy's a really good backup. Somebody's going to sign him. Somebody's going to take him away. Well, that doesn't happen. I believe he signs an extension in Cincinnati. And then Joe Burrow stays kind of healthy for the next year and a half. Well, Jake Browning was just absolute crap. He wasn't winning games, and he felt like he deserved to be the starter still. It's like, dude, you're not playing up to par at all. Like, how can you justify that you could still be a starter when there's somebody else out there that I can get that's going to play better than you as soon as they come in? And that's what's happened. Joe Flacco has just been lighting it up since he's came into Cincinnati. And I can't blame this game on him, but at the same time, I think you should have been able to come back against this Jets team. This Jets team is not, it's not that good. Hell, Justin Fields didn't even throw the game-winning touchdown. And let me speak on this Justin Fields things, because I kind of trash talk Justin Fields all the time because he's kind of incapable of being a NFL quarterback in the passing game, I should say. He can run. He's an elite runner, but he is not an elite passer. Played a really good game, didn't turn the ball over passing, but he did not throw the game-winning touchdown. Breece Hall did. And to me, in that situation, I don't know what that tells you. Because if that was anybody else, you are not having a halfback pass. You are absolutely not having a halfback pass. I mean, unless you're just a bad team and you're just pulling plays out your ass, I mean, that's not something that you call any point in time. You will not see Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes toss the ball in that kind of situation for a game winner for the halfback to throw the ball. You will not. You might see them when they're up. You might see them when it's a 0-0 game. But you will not see going for a game winner halfback pass, which, holy cow, who would have thrown that? Breece Hall would. And won them the game. Essentially won the game. I mean, it did. It didn't essentially. It did. Breece Hall threw a game-winning touchdown. And the Bengals still had a chance. I'm still trying to figure out how T. Higgins just has the one catch for the touchdown. How Jamar Chase gets all these targets and T. Higgins couldn't get 5, 6. I think he had 1 for 1. That's what I'm just not comprehending of what the Bengals are doing. I don't know if that's play design or that's just Joe Flacco falling in love with Jamar Chase. I would fall in love with Jamar Chase if he was my receiver because I know this man's probably going to win 85 to 90% of his routes, his one-on-ones. He's going to win. And he does a lot, but not enough. Jets steal this one from Cincinnati, and I think Cincinnati's morale is about to drop. I literally talked about how having Flacco was going to make the defense improve and play better, and I think they just got too comfortable thinking they were just going to handle the Jets and let them score a few times, run the clock out. Unfortunately, that did not work out for you, Bengals. And you cost me that one because I went minus 5.5. 5.5. Guaranteed Bengals had that one. Psych. All right, we're going to move on to the Cleveland Browns at the New England Patriots. And, hey, the Patriots are just proving every single week why they're a top team. They're an AFC East contender right now. Them and the Bills, because a couple games here. I'll tell you all about the Bills and how they pee right on my leg. I just had to take it. The Patriots just handle the Browns. The Browns are bad. Dylan Gabriel, have no idea what he's going to be. He doesn't have any receivers. I think that's going to be his biggest letdown is not having any receivers and trying to make everyone else better around you. I think your best target's probably David Njoku. I think he's having a hard time staying healthy. Harold Fannin, another tight end. Look, tight ends are going to be quarterback's best friend. They're the closest target to you, and they're typically big-bodied. Man, Cleveland's just struggling with their quarterback situation. It's just not good. It's not good. And I hear the rumors about Shador playing the last few games. No matter what happens, I have no idea how reputable that source is. And this was coming off of a radio, a very popular Ohio radio broadcast, if I'm not mistaken. Still, just hard to believe. Hard to believe that. But Drake May is going to be an MVP contender if he keeps this up. I absolutely think he is. Josh McDaniels is just setting this guy up for all of the success that he could possibly have in this league, and it is paying off for Drake May. So, Drake May, dude, you are a stud. Browns, you got some shit to figure out. Myles Garrett, 5 sacks, and your team still loses. Wow. Insane. 32-13, Patriots won that one, and so do I. Moving on to the New York Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. So, hey, I thought the Giants were going to come in there once again, punch the Philadelphia Eagles right in the mouth. Especially because A.J. Brown wasn't there. Well, that was not the case. I was sadly mistaken. And the freaking Eagles get the running game going. So this is the week that I say everything's not working, and that's why they're going to lose. And they punch me right in the mouth. And I took that one right on the chin. And I believe, once the Scadaboo injury happened, and prayers to Cam Scadaboo, once that injury happened, I think it hurt the morale of the Giants. A lot of young guys seeing that kind of gruesome injury from a guy that is just a complete battering ram. You wouldn't expect him to have that kind of injury. To me, the type of injury, if it was a lower body injury that you would expect somebody like Scadaboo to have, it'd be one of those crazy ones where he's trying to run somebody over and somebody comes and blows his leg out from under him. Nick Chubb had that. And that's the kind of injury to expect. Not a attempted catch and defender just kind of fall on the back of your leg and it gets trapped under you and just, man, terrible injury for Cam. Hey, he'll be back for OTAs. They say there should be no complications in the rehab process with this type of injury. But there was a little bit more damage than initially reported. Hopeful all things will be well for Scadaboo. And, hey, Jalen Hurts is, I've said it before, I'll say it again. He does not care how they win games. He just wants to win. And I think He's put this team on his back in a way that most people wouldn't say that he's putting the team on his back, but he is. They need him to throw, he throws it. And they just want him to hand it off, he hands it off. He's willing to do whatever it is. And the team just knows that. And that's such a crazy thing to have. And holy crap, man. This tush push is just it's unstoppable. I didn't even watch the highlights for this game because the Scadaboo injury really just was like, man, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. And of course, getting all the highlights of Saquon Barkley just having a game. Just having a game. So, and Philadelphia is getting back on track, and New York Giants are they're not slowly falling. I mean, who really anticipated them to be good? Come on. What would you expect? 38-20. Eagles get me on that one. I went plus 7.5 for the Giants. Moving on to the Buffalo Bills at the Carolina Panthers. So, hey, this is the one where the Bills just proved me wrong, man. They just completely proved me wrong, but in all the right ways. Bills go into this game. I'm thinking Andy Dalton at quarterback going to give the Panthers a completely different look, especially in the passing game. Well, not so much. Andy Dalton looks like old Andy Dalton. He's got one bullet in the chamber. When he shoots it, he's got to unload the old cartridge, grab the old bullet out and put it back in, and then try to cock the hammer before he shoots it. And he didn't look like Andy Dalton to me at all. And the Bills just ran wild on them. I talked about James Cook being paid the way he is and not performing to be paid like that. Well, holy cow, this dude just has a ridiculous game. I mean, I was getting hammered with running backs in the fantasy league. They were just picking me apart. And I had Bijan Robinson, casually thinking Bijan's just going to tear up my Miami Dolphins and I'm going to be hurting and happy all at the same time. Very weird. Well, that was not the case, okay? Was not the case at all. My opponent had James Cook. He punched me in the mouth, stepped on my toes, kicked me in the shins. He did everything he needed to do. And Josh Allen didn't have to carry the team. Once again, Shakir, about the only guy that seems to be able to get open. And he just makes a really, really nice play and on a long touchdown run. So Bills get right back on top after the bye. They come out and just punch the Carolina Panthers in the mouth. And I don't say mouth like that all the time. It is mouth. I hear Pat McAfee say it all the time. So I want to say it, okay? I'm going to say it. Bills kill 40-9. And I take the L on that. Chicago Bears at the Baltimore Ravens. So, once again, another disappointing game for me, essentially, in the fact that I thought, hey, Lamar Jackson's out. They've not been winning. Cooper Rush just gets completely demoted to third-string emergency quarterback. And Tyler Huntley throws it back to when he initially took over for Lamar Jackson a few years ago when he got hurt, played 12 games in like back-to-back seasons. And you thought, man, Tyler Huntley is just as good as Lamar. Excuse me. Tyler Huntley is just as good as Lamar. He can run the offense. He's cheaper too. And that was kind of the whole ordeal when this new contract thing came up where nobody offered him and finally the Ravens gave him a new contract. Because there was a thing, it's in the back of your head as you're in ownership and you're the guys that are doing all the numbers for contracts. You think, I can get the same guy essentially, maybe not as fast or have as good as an arm, but just a few notches below all of that. And we can run the same offense. Well, Tyler Huntley was with the Dolphins last year. And they threw this man right into the fire of this ridiculous timing offense where Tyler Huntley is not that kind of guy. He is your typical RPO drop back passer where he can run the RPO and he can drop back and pass but essentially he is going to run the ball, but not all the time. It's super weird, okay? How can I describe this? Well, Lamar Jackson is super dynamic with his legs, and the defense always is scheming to keep him from being able to run. Tyler Huntley, not so much. You don't necessarily need to put a spy on him, but you do say, hey, watch him. He may run. Lamar, you're always having somebody watch him because he can run at any time. Well, Tyler Huntley runs your spread offense, pro style offense pretty well. Whereas read the defense, drop back to pass, find different windows, not just I have to throw it now or I can't kind of thing. It can be I can throw it now or I can wait till he's here and throw it here, and maybe I can move around. This will open up. Different things like that. That's what Tyler Huntley is doing well. And we don't run that offense in Miami. I say we like I'm on the team. You hear this shit? Well, I feel like I'm on the team. I've been a fan for literally 25 years that I can absolutely remember. 25 years with the Miami Dolphins. To this date, and I'm 30. So I can say like 5 years old, I can vividly remember Dan Marino retiring and Jay Feeler coming in. Okay? So I'm going to say we. If you don't like it, sorry. That's in my eye. Tyler Huntley just comes in there and he has a very efficient game. Does nothing to lose them a game. And hell, he made some really good plays. I saw a few runs by him that look like Lamar Jackson-esque. Not as fast, of course, but gets the job done. And Derrick Henry is getting right back on track. I think they're finally getting their mix back to the running game. They were pretty good last week with the run game. They're getting back to that. The problem is you're still a 2-6 or 2-5 football team. And at this time, that is super tough. Like you can't have any bumps in the road right now. You're going to have to get a big winning streak together. And Ravens play the Dolphins on Thursday night, which is tomorrow. So we'll see how things roll there. But Caleb Williams, he made some really good decisions, rolling out, throwing the ball last minute to a guy, getting it open. And just late in the game, when you really need these crucial plays, Bears weren't able to execute. That's essentially what happened, and the Ravens did. They looked like a veteran team with somebody at quarterback that they trusted, and were able to continue the same style of offense that Lamar Jackson would run. Cooper Rush cannot run that offense. Well, I guess I should say. He can, but he can't do it well. And that was the game there. Baltimore steps up defensively to hold the Bears to 16 points, and Baltimore puts up 30. And I thought the Bears were going to come in there and win that one. I really did. Whole weird thing with Lamar Jackson injury too. Literally on track to play. All of a sudden he's not playing. And John Harbaugh says it was a mistake. I don't know how that was a mistake. You literally had him practice all week, had him slated to play, and then you just said he's out. Not going to play. Makes no sense. Strategy, maybe? Bold move, Cotton. I'm going to move on. San Francisco at Houston. So another one. Okay? Another one where I thought this or that was going to happen, and it did not. It just was completely opposite of that. I was on track to think C.J. Stroud, no Nico Collins, no C.J. Stroud. As in, C.J. Stroud never performs well without Nico Collins, and he proved me wrong. They spread the ball out to everyone, including Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios was his leading catcher in the game, not yardage, but I think he had the most catches. And this, I have no stats out right now. Matter of fact, I have an NBA basketball playing right over here in the corner. I am just getting all the sports right now. I usually don't watch basketball, but the last couple of years I've been trying to get Game 1 from Game 82 for the Miami Heat. And I'm going to try to do that. I am 4 for 4 right now. And they play tomorrow. And then, Clayton, if you could just stop sending reels to the group right now, that'd be great, dude. You were vibrating the microphone. Anyways, San Francisco with Mac Jones in there once again, and I don't know when Brock Purdy's going to be back. I don't expect him to be back anytime soon, and if he is, surprise, surprise. And this could be one of those situations where maybe Brock Purdy will absolutely play if Mac Jones has absolutely been terrible. But he's not been. He's been very efficient. And San Francisco, once again, real hot to start the season. And now they're just losing 2 games here. Win the game, lose the game. Getting on this weird back and forth kind of thing with just underperforming. And they did that against the Texans. I thought the Texans were on the ropes. About to be down for the count, especially without their receivers. Come on. Who expected C.J. Stroud to just line up and spread offense, 5 receiver set, empty backfield, and just rip this ball like he did? Well, he did. Okay, so I was wrong this game. C.J. Stroud looked good. He looked good. And hey, every squirrel finds a nut. And what I mean by that is, yes, I say they're bad, but they're in the NFL. They're in the NFL for a reason. They're able to perform at this level. Potentially. Some guys don't need potential. You already know what they're capable of, but some guys have all this potential and it doesn't show up. So now they're bad. And then it shows up and you're like, oh, you're wrong. And then you're back to doing the best. So that's kind of where CJ Stroud's at for me. Last year and this year so far, super up and down. Need some more consistency. Want to see him make his receivers better. And I feel like he did that this last game. We'll give CJ Stroud his praise. He's definitely showed up and showed out in that last game. But San Francisco, I think the injuries on defense is starting to hurt them a little bit. You only can cover the holes with coaching so much before you start to have other leaks. And that's what's happening with San Francisco. So I picked San Francisco. I thought they'd really keep this close, maybe steal it. And they did not. They lose 26-15. I take the L on that one. So that's 4 straight games for me that I'm taking L's on, picking against the spread. Tampa Bay at New Orleans. So my buddy Joe goes to the Tampa Bay at New Orleans. He goes to the game in New Orleans. And he had a great time. I thought that was super cool. For him to be able to be there at an NFL game that I watched on TV, in a whole nother state, 11 hours away. I thought that was super cool. But he could feel how bad the Saints are. The Bucs defense had a day. If you had them on fantasy, you see the 33 points or 30-plus points that you would have got. It just depends on how you score. They absolutely made Spencer Rattler lose his job for the rest of the season. Tyler Shuck is going to start the rest of the season. Now, I don't have much to say about this. Tampa Bay's defense did all the work. Igbuka was pretty much held in check in this game, and Rachaad White, same thing. Tampa Bay's offense was a little bit stymied there, which New Orleans' defense has played super hard and super competitive, but just still losing games and not doing enough because the offense isn't. Defense is out there a lot. But New Orleans is also in a weird quarterback position. So you have Spencer Rattler they draft last year, and they end up having to put him in. And they want to go with him again this year. But then you draft Tyler Shuck. And a lot of people scratch their head. Tyler Shuck's one of those 5-6 year quarterbacks, 5-6 year experienced quarterbacks in college that is 25 or 26 years old. He's older. So you're drafting this guy later in the round thinking this guy's going to be able to come in and he's pretty much at the top of his game. Let's just try to take him that little extra, kind of like a Bo Nix to me. I think Bo Nix is still way better than him, but I think this was the essential idea that they were trying to put together with their quarterback selection. And unfortunately, Tyler Shuck was not ready to go in right away. So you have to put Spencer Rattler in there because you can't screw with a young quarterback's mental process of, I'm a starter, I'm benched. Now I'm back in. Now I'm benched. You're going to have this back and forth. That's what happened with Tua, okay? Tua with Brian Flores in Miami. Tua was not liked by Flores. Didn't like his mentality, his moxie, his game style, whatever it is, okay? They had Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick started. They wanted to start Tua at a certain point in time in the season, and they put him in, and he's not playing that well, so you put Fitzpatrick back in. Fitzpatrick has a bad game, you put Tua back in, and it's just a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that wrecked Tua's mental stability. And that's, hey, it's completely normal. Everybody handles things differently. So I would have said, hey, you know what? It is what it is. I'm still getting paid, right? I'm here to do a job. I'm just going to do it. Some people don't process things like that. Some people are used to being the guy all the time. When they're not the guy and it gets taken away from them, it gets given back to them and it gets taken away. It's like, what do I have to do to keep you from taking this from me every time? Well, Tyler Shuck's the starter for the rest of the season. I don't know how you turn back to Spencer Rattler if Tyler Shuck has a bad few games. He's going to have to go through the process. He's a rookie. He could have a good year and then crap next year. And then following year, pick right back up. There's a sophomore slump bound to happen. And I don't feel like you're even going to enter a sophomore slump, or even if you've gotten past that stage, until you've gotten 17 games and then see what happens after 17 games. And if you're continuing to be good after 34 games, hey, this guy might be a dude. Well, if you have a bad second season, people are going to be like, hey, it's okay. He was good. He was okay. See what he does this year. Then if you get a little bit better than you were last year, people are like, okay, he's a good quarterback. So it's a different process. Everybody evaluates quarterbacks differently. Everybody gives excuses for their quarterbacks. Prime example. Only because I can relate, and I don't know how many other teams can. Miami Dolphins, Ryan Tannehill. Nobody thought he was the guy. Every year, for 8 years, every year was an excuse. He doesn't have a line. He doesn't have receivers. He doesn't have running backs. He doesn't have a defense. It was everything. He doesn't have a coach. Everything you could name, there was an excuse made. And finally, I think Ryan just got to the point to where this team's just bad. It's just poorly managed in every aspect. General manager, coaching. So he left. Well, look at what Ryan Tannehill did in Tennessee. He had a good running game with Derrick Henry. He succeeded, right? It's hand in hand with how successful quarterbacks are going to be for your team. New Orleans got to figure something out. Kellen Moore is going to have his hands full, but they got to get some receivers. They really wish they had Michael Thomas still. Really do. Bucks win 23-3. I get the check on that one as well. So we're going to move on to the second 4 o'clock game. That was the first one. Tampa Bay at New Orleans. I went Dallas Cowboys on this one. Plus 3.5. At Denver. Boy, was I in for a rude awakening. So was my wife. 44-24. The Broncos manhandled the Dallas Cowboys. So I watch the games and I see how some things play out, and Dak Prescott absolutely loves throwing to CeeDee Lamb. Loves it. Now, I wish he would still love to throw to CeeDee Lamb, but maybe love to throw to George Pickens as well. Just look over there. How many times did Dak Prescott force a ball into somewhere where it was one-on-one coverage, where all he had to do was just turn his head just like this, and he would have saw George Pickens was wide open right over there, or would have had a great chance to catch the ball one-on-one with the guy right over here to your left. Just head here, eyes here. Head, eyes. Head, eyes. Or eyes and head. Or, hey, ooh, back. So many different things. But that's the Cowboys. That's Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's getting paid, so it's okay for him to get all these crazy targets and expect him to come up with all of these passes thrown to him. I don't know how Ferguson doesn't get a catch in this game. You just completely underutilize your tight end. Jake Ferguson is a really good tight end, and he's a good tight end that's going to stretch the field. So I wish they would have just taken a little bit more one-on-one matchups, especially with Ferguson and Pickens. it was, I think things would have been a little differently for the Dallas Cowboys. And Denver didn't have Patrick Surtain most of the game. He had a little injury, and he came back, and then he actually had a pec injury. And I noticed it on the sideline, how he was moving his arm and grabbing his shoulder, waving it up. And it's a pec injury. I just kind of clear signs of you're not hurt, but something don't feel right. And that was the case. But it doesn't matter. Denver they got after the Cowboys. Just got after them. Cowboys got down, and they just had to abandon the run game for the most part. And it was just letting it fly. And it's hard to win games when everybody knows what you're doing and you're just preventing. Denver wins out in 44-24. And Denver continues to show they are going to be a contender. One of those top teams that you're going to see in the playoff picture for sure. Dallas trying to be in that same picture here. They're going to be on that 8-9, 9-8, more like a 8-8, 9-7 kind of thing because they got the tie with Green Bay. So I lose that one. Tennessee at Indianapolis. Tennessee 14, Indianapolis 38. Hey, this was the one where I told you I don't specifically pick these, especially when they're crazy spreads. Well, hey, guess what? I picked it this time because Tennessee is showing me why they are a bad team and why they had the number one pick. They just don't have anything at all. Nothing. No team would ever be afraid of them right now. The only team that is afraid is going to be the Cardinals because they're the only team that's lost to them. But Tennessee just doesn't have anything presentable. I think you got to get Cam Ward some receivers. He kind of put his foot in his own mouth, though. He thought he had one of the top receiving cores in the league in training camp. He really did. There's comments about those that you can find. And they are just not producing. And I don't know if he needs to get his boy Xavier Restrepo out there because that's my guy too. But he needs somebody that he's got chemistry with and can trust. And I think if you have somebody, whether they're fast or not, you have that chemistry, they're going to be able to get open. So if Xavier Restrepo can get on the field and allow him and Cam Ward to connect, I think their offense would be a little bit better because nobody's going to respect Restrepo. I mean, the 40 he ran really changed people's mind about him. So that's something that people are always going to keep in mind, that Xavier Restrepo is super duper slow. But hey, he got to the active roster, and hopefully, maybe we should see him playing on the field with Cam Ward. 38-14, Colts just dominate. Absolutely dominate the Titans. Oh man. I love the old TNT show Inside the NBA with Kevin, Shaq, Charles, and Ernie. And I'm completely distracted right now with it because I'm trying to see what they're talking about. Thought they were going to race to the board and touch it. They did not. They were just showing off these sweet kicks Ernie had on. Jonathan Taylor. He is, hey, I kept saying Bijan, and I was wrong. Jonathan Taylor must have heard me. He's been on a tear. He has 3 consecutive games with 3 touchdowns or more. What is happening? I could be wrong, though. There was one that got... Is it 3 rushing stats? 3 rushing touchdowns or just 3 touchdowns in total? All right. Whatever it is, it's 3 touchdowns in 3 consecutive games. But I think one got changed because it was a catch and not a rushing touchdown. So we're going to say 3 consecutive touchdowns in games. Pass or catching, doesn't matter. The Colts are the best team right now in the league. Period. No arguments there. And they cover for me 38-14. They're minus 14.5. Last game of the Sunday slate, Green Bay at Pittsburgh. I wasn't sure how Green Bay was going to play. Very unsure about Jordan Love. And once again, they're freaking proving me wrong, man. 20 completions in a row for Jordan Love. What are you doing, man? And Tucker Kraft. Where'd you come from, dude? What is happening? You look like the best tight end in the NFL against the Steelers. I mean, just whatever you wanted to do, you did it. Deep routes, crossing routes, seam routes, short catches. You just absolutely annihilated the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Aaron Rodgers, oh boy. I don't know if it's because he looks older now than, 10 years ago. Because, he'd get mad 10 years ago, but you never looked at him like, oh, man, Aaron Rodgers is mad. But he's been having some very, very choice words to say when things don't go how he wants them to. And the Pittsburgh Steelers offense is starting to get stymied. I think they need another receiver. DK Metcalf is a guy. And Jonnu Smith was supposed to... This is what's so frustrating. So frustrating. Jonnu Smith wanted to be a guy. He goes somewhere where he can't even be the guy because the offense doesn't work like that. That's what's so frustrating. So he leaves and now he goes to Pittsburgh and he's not catching, I don't even know if they're calling routes like that for him, but he's somebody that could be out there running routes, catching balls from Aaron Rodgers, and that's just not happening. Freiermuth is more of a target than Jonnu Smith has been. So until the Steelers can figure out their passing game, if they get another receiver, I think they're going to be on that decline to that 9-8 kind of team there. Aaron Rodgers can make guys better, but there's only so much he can do. If you can't get open, he's going to try to throw a perfect ball every time, but there's no guarantee. And you can't put that on a 41-year-old quarterback. So Pittsburgh's got some things to do. There's been some trades too. Next podcast I will probably talk about some of the acquisitions that these teams will have against their next opponent and see how those acquisitions may help them. Steelers lose that 25-35. Packers look great. Steelers defense paid all that money for defense. Defensive veterans, I should say, and it is not paying off at all. Going to move on to the last game of the weekend. It's actually on a Monday, though, so I don't think you're going to consider that the weekend. You're going to consider it the start of the week, Tyler. Get your shit right. I'm trying to, okay? I'm trying to. Washington at Kansas City. Of course I picked Kansas City. Everybody knows I would have picked them. They know that Kansas City's probably my number 2 team. 3 would be the Cowboys just because of my wife's team. But I'm a Mahomes guy. Always have been. And I said what I said. When he gets his receivers back, Kansas City's offense is going to start lighting things up. And 28-7. A 21-point win. And Washington without Jaden Daniels. And now they're going to be without McLaurin again. He injured his quad or knee, whatever it is now. He's going to be out again. And Deebo Samuel is not a number 1 guy. And I knew Deebo Samuel's not a number 1 guy. He's good with other guys around him because you can't lock in on him. And how he gets the ball is different than most people. He gets a lot of bubbles. He gets a lot of jet sweep, touch passes. He gets different things like that where he's already moving. And he's got open space. I don't see him as that great polished route runner. You don't think of him as that. You think of him as a dog. He's a really, really good player. But Washington's got to design more plays for him, but not put everything around him. If you understand what I'm trying to say here. Kansas City loses Pacheco. Not for long, though. He had an MCL sprain. His knee injury looked nasty. Nasty. And this guy got up, walked off the field, laid on the table, did his little ACL check. Doc said, relax, man. Lay back. Let me check your knee. You're good, dude. You're good. And he got up, fist bumped him, and he was like, I'm ready to go. Oh, he's going to miss a little bit of time. So Kareem Hunt, Brashard Smith going to be your 2 backs now for Kansas City. So if you're looking at fantasy, Kareem Hunt might be that guy. Might be that guy. Because Brashard Smith is going to be your pass catching back for sure. So I was terrible this week. 6-7. Not too many losing performances on these picks against the spread, but that was the case this week. And I said it once, I will say it again. It just goes to show you that the NFL is any given Thursday, Sunday, Monday. Those are when all the games are being played right now. That any team can come out and perform and play really well. and make the other team look like absolute dog shit. And some teams did that this week. Carolina looked really good. I thought they'd look better passing the ball without Bryce Young. And I was sadly mistaken. And of course, James Cook just comes right out and just has a monster game after I talk about how he gets paid and not living up to those standards. And hey, Miami Dolphins 34, Atlanta 10. I mean, yes, my team, yeah, I would have picked anybody else, but that's another one to where anybody would have said Atlanta's got this game. People picked up Kirk Cousins, Falcons defense, thinking field day coming up. Not so fast, my friend. So, the NFL, you start to get a grasp on teams that are good and contenders, and then you're going to have a week to where they're just going to get shocked, and you're not going to pick them. And this is how this week went. I could have easily just picked Philadelphia just because there should be a better team, and the Bills. Easily could have just picked them just because they're the better team. And I didn't. Same thing with Denver. So 3 easy, really easy games right there that would have just completely changed me. I would have been 9-4. Instead, I'm 6-7. Wow. So that is the review of the Week 8 NFL games picked against the spread for me. I will have a total of where I'm at to start Week 9 to just give you the kind of the halfway point of what my overall record is. And I have no idea what it is. I literally just have a pile of papers just stacking up over here of all these sheets that I fill out. So I'm having a great time. I'm going to be doing a little bit more of this. I thought, I actually had no idea. I didn't know what my schedule pertained to the play-by-play for high school football that I do. And would have had a game Friday, and then I would have known after that what kind of schedule I would have. But team forfeited, so I don't have a game this Friday. I'll have one next Friday. Don't know where I'm going, who we're playing, but it'll be fun. It's high school football, Friday Night Lights. It's fun, and this is fun. I love doing this. I love calling those games as well. And I'm going to continue to do these. Got 9 more, 10 more weeks. Yeah, when we start Week 9, you'll have 9 more weeks when you start Week 9 of regular season football. And we'll have a few weeks of playoffs, and we'll have a Super Bowl. And, man, when we get to the playoffs, I think I will really start to break down these games a little more. I'll be able to watch every game from start to finish, too. You can already imagine I'm not watching all these games. I'm just watching a bunch of highlights, looking at stats, reading articles, different things like that, hearing news reports. So that's kind of how I get all my intel on this and kind of just give you my opinion. So it's been real. It's been fun. And it has been real fun, actually. So tune in for the next episode. Should be tomorrow, maybe the next day. I'll have the Week 9 picks against the spread. And, of course, like, comment, share, subscribe. Do whatever you possibly can do to help me get this out there, because this is something I hope to do for a job, career, whatever you want to call it. Not a job. I love doing this. But, yes, please do all those things I asked. It is greatly appreciated. I'm out. Later, guys.